We all do it. We make judgments about people based on how they look. It's a quick, almost automatic process, and it's called the halo effect. It's the tendency to let one positive trait, like attractiveness, influence our overall opinion of someone. If someone is good-looking, we might automatically assume they're also kind, intelligent, and competent. And the opposite is true too. If someone doesn't fit our ideas of what's attractive, we might unfairly assume negative things about them. It's a powerful bias that can affect our decisions in many areas of life, from choosing friends and romantic partners to hiring employees or even electing political leaders. Think about it. Have you ever been more lenient with a charming colleague who made a mistake, while being stricter with a less likable coworker who made the same error? It's easy to see how the halo effect clouds our judgment. We're more likely to give the benefit of the doubt to someone we find attractive, overlooking potential flaws or shortcomings. Conversely, we might unfairly judge someone who isn't physically appealing, focusing on their flaws and ignoring their positive qualities. This isn't always a conscious decision. It's a subtle bias woven into our thinking. The impact of the halo effect extends beyond personal relationships. In the workplace, it can influence hiring decisions. A study showed that attractive applicants were more likely to be hired, even if their qualifications were slightly less impressive than less attractive candidates. Similarly, attractive people often receive better performance reviews and are paid more, regardless of their actual job performance. This isn't about being shallow. It's about the unconscious biases at play that impact how we evaluate others. Even in the legal system, studies suggest the halo effect can influence jury decisions. Attractive defendants tend to receive lighter sentences compared to less attractive defendants, even if the evidence against them is identical. This highlights how ingrained the halo effect is in our perception and judgment of others, even in serious matters of justice. It's important to remember that attractiveness is subjective. What one person finds appealing, another might not. Beauty standards vary across cultures and throughout history. This makes relying on outward appearances for judgment all the more problematic. The halo effect is a cognitive shortcut. Our brains try to make quick assessments, but these shortcuts often lead to unfair and inaccurate conclusions. So, how can we overcome this powerful bias? The first step is recognizing that it exists. Becoming aware of the halo effect allows us to critically examine our own judgments. Once we acknowledge our bias, we can actively work to counteract it. This involves focusing on objective criteria instead of relying on superficial impressions. In hiring, for instance, focusing on skills and experience is critical to avoid the halo effect's influence. In personal relationships, taking the time to get to know someone beyond their appearance is essential to form accurate judgments. We need to make a conscious effort to treat everyone fairly, regardless of how they look. It requires slowing down, actively listening, and paying attention to a person's words, actions, and character. It means asking ourselves, am I letting someone's appearance unduly influence my opinion of them? Am I giving everyone a fair chance, regardless of their looks? Asking these questions is a vital step in reducing the impact of the halo effect on our judgments. The halo effect is a common human tendency, but it's not an insurmountable obstacle. By understanding how it works and consciously challenging our own biases, we can make more accurate, fairer, and more informed judgments about the people around us. It's about making a deliberate effort to see people for who they are, not just for how they look. This takes practice, but it's worth the effort. It leads to stronger relationships, fairer workplaces, and a more just society overall. It requires constant self-reflection and a commitment to fairness. Being aware of the halo effect is the first step towards overcoming it and creating a more equitable world. Ultimately, appreciating individuals for their true character rather than their superficial appearance fosters more meaningful connections and a more just society. Consider the implications of the halo effect in different contexts. In politics, a charismatic candidate might be perceived as more competent than a less charismatic one, even if their policy platforms are similar. In marketing, attractive models are often used to sell products, leveraging the halo effect to associate positive feelings with the product itself. In education, teachers might unconsciously favor attractive students, potentially impacting their grading or interaction. These are just a few examples of how pervasive the halo effect is, showing its impact on our everyday decisions and interactions. We often overlook the potential for bias in our own judgments. We might think we're objective, but the unconscious influence of the halo effect can be significant. By developing self-awareness and practicing critical thinking, we can mitigate the negative impacts of this bias. It's about recognizing that our initial impressions are often flawed and requiring further evidence to form truly accurate judgments. It's about taking time to consider the whole person, not just the surface-level attributes. It's a continuous process of self-improvement, aiming to see beyond the immediate impression and into the heart of the matter. The more we understand the pervasive influence of the halo effect, the better equipped we'll be to navigate the complexities of human interaction with greater fairness and accuracy. The key takeaway is that it's not about ignoring appearances entirely. It's about not letting appearances dominate our assessment of a person's character, competence, or worth. It's about conscious effort and mindful consideration. It's about choosing to see the whole person, the complete picture, instead of relying on a single, superficial characteristic.